Hi everyone, welcome to another video in this series of building AI agent from scratch. So in this lesson, we'll be making another tool and using it in our LLM. So instead of a toy calculator, this time we'll be doing a web search or specifically a Wikipedia search. A more common choice would be to use a paid search API like Travely, but just to keep this course 100% free and local friendly, I'm using Wikipedia. The response we get back from Wikipedia, it's not really LLM friendly. It has some HTML markups as well. That's how the Wikipedia APIs work. And but in a production system, you should be using something like Travely because the response from that API is more LLM friendly. But anyway, we'll be simply doing a call out with the actual query and then returning the response after doing some cleanup. And let's look at the actual code first and then we'll talk a bit more about it. So this is the function I have defined. It's just a function that takes query as an input and does a API call out using the native fetch method from Node.js. And then the response, when we get a response from it, we simply clean it and return the actual response. We also have some error handling here, but it's a generic error handling. In a normal production system, you would be actually checking the HTTP message or status code from. So if it's a 401, it's an unauthenticated request and you would like to give a more user-friendly message to the user. But if it's a 409, like a rate limit error, probably you would like to do a retry after some time and handle it internally instead of just spitting it to the end user. All right, so just to keep things simple, we have a generic error message, and then we do a tool definition of type function, and the name is search Wikipedia. So notice that you can keep the name of your actual function different from the tool name, but the description, it's really important. So in this case, we have quite good description that it does a search on Wikipedia for people, place, events, or and history. And then we also have a specified format that the parameters should have a query string or a query of type string, and that's the search term. So this description is also important because that's how the LLM will figure out how to populate the value for specific parameters from the actual user prompt. That's a plain English string. And then we have our usual ask LLM call. So in this case, I'm going to ask it what is Eliud Kipchoge's marathon world record time. That's a default one, but yeah, we can always ask a different question. And then we do a tool, we'll simply call the LLM, which we expect to figure out that, okay, this, in order to answer this question, we need to actually do a tool call to Wikipedia. And then based on the call, we'll simply, since we know that in this case also it's single tool, so we'll directly call the search Wikipedia. But in an actual production system, we will have multiple tools and you need to keep this part dynamic. And we'll again push the response from the search Wikipedia function as a synthetic message variable. And then we again feed this message back to the LLM and get the final response. So let's run it. So again, the flow is same. Whenever user has sent a prompt, the LLM will figure out that it needs to call a tool and come back with a tool call message. And then we call the tool and send the message back to the LLM. Alright, so it came back with the answer that Eliud Kipchoge's official marathon world record is 2 hours 1 minute and 39 seconds, and he achieved it on 16 September 2018. So now our LLM, even though it can't do anything outside its training data, it has the capability of instructing our orchestrator to call a tool and get back the response from the tool, which is the most recent information. And based on it, even though it's not in its training data, but since it's now part of the context, so LLM can answer really recent questions. And this is an example of Wikipedia search, but your functions can very well be calling to your enterprise software like Salesforce or calling a database, or yeah, even looking into your Excel sheet or using your Google APIs. And that's all. Thank you.